Hello there everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for another video. I hope you love to play with stencils because today's video is going to incorporate a couple of really fun techniques. We're going to use some of Gina K Design's Fuse gel and also some glitter paste. We're going to pair all of those two together along with some ink blending to create this really neat card design. So the big plant that is on this card, that is from the new snake plant stencil set from Simon Says Stamp. It's a layering stencil set and there are 5 pieces that build together to create this really cool dimensional plant. So I'm just going to show you all the layers here. You can see how these piece together and they're going to form the really fun texture that's on the plant. So because I'm going to use a bunch of stencils, I want to be able to hold them down on my paper while I work. So I'm going to pull out my Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Mat. This is the 7x7 mat, and it's really helpful for holding stencils in place. So I have my paper down first and then the stencil. And from here, I'm going to start ink blending on top of the stencil. This is the base layer that forms the outline of the plant, but I'm going to color it with 3 different shades of ink. I started off with Tide Pool, now I have Spring, and then finally I'll bring in Field. So I'm mixing these 3 together to form the base color for my plant. It just gives it some variation, which is going to give that plant a variegated look, which I think looks really neat. So now I'm going to move on to coloring the outer portions of this plant. And I'm just lining this up over top of our outline so that way I can form these edges. Again, I'm going to use those 3 shades of ink to color in very similar sections as I did for the base layer. So this way it's going to layer on top of those colored areas and start forming a tone-on-tone effect. And you can really see this come to life as I pull off that second stencil. For layer 3, this is another portion of some of the outer parts of the leaves, and I'm going to go back through with those same 3 colors and continue adding ink. And I am varying up how much pressure I add and how much intensity of color that I provide. And I'll also change the position a little bit of those ink colors just a smidge so that way it starts to overlap with some of the other colors and it gives some really unique undertones. Here I'm bringing in a slightly darker color, Zagian, and I really wanted to intensify some of that teal color. Tide Pool wasn't getting dark enough for me, so that again really allowed me to get that contrast for that teal color. So this was one of the stripe layers. There is one more stripe, but this one we are not going to ink blend. We're going to move on to the paste now. So I used all of those other stencils to color the snake plant with ink, but this time I want to add some foil. Gina K Design's Fuse gel is a great foil gel to work with. It works perfectly with toner foils, and you're going to just apply this in a very thin skim coat over top of your stencil. But this does even out as it dries, so you really don't have to fuss with it that much. So once I apply the gel to my stencil, I'm going to peel off that layer and you can see how this looks. It has a milky color to it, especially since it's sitting on top of some color that's underneath of it. Once this is completely dry, I brought in my Fuse machine. Now you could use a laminator or a Mink machine, whatever you've got. The gel does not have to be used with the Fuse machine, but it does work really well with Gina's entire system. So I'm bringing in some toner foil. This is not heat transfer foil that works with plates. These are deco foil. So these work only with toner transfer designs or with something like this Fuse gel. I've laid this with the pretty side facing up on top of my stencil design. And then I ran it through my machine at a heat setting of 3. Now I'm going to pull it out of the carrier sheet. This is one of Gina's carrier sheets. I'll just let this cool a second. Just kind of wave it around to cool it off a little. And then I'm going to carefully remove that foil and reveal that beautiful texture and that gorgeous foiling that is now on top of our snake plant. How pretty does that look? Now I want to cut out the snake plant. Originally I wasn't sure if I was going to, that's why I kind of ink blended it off the corner of the paper because initially I was thinking I would do all of this on one layer, but then I decided I wanted to pop it up. And there is a coordinating die for this snake plant which cuts it out right up to the edge. It is so cool. Now I'm coloring in an arched panel here with a little bit of teal ink, just adding this around the bottom corner of the panel. And then I'm going to bring in this Sunshine stencil set from Simon Says Stamp. It's a layering stencil set, but but I just wanted the sun rays from it. So I'm going to use them coming in from the top corner of my panel here, and I'm going to use some yellow ink to help me get that sun effect. So I'm going to apply lemonade first through the stencil over top of that background, and I let it overlap with the blue. Then I feathered that out with a little bit of yellow in that top corner just to connect those rays with something so that way it looked like the sun up there in the corner. I decided to also add some additional rays with a slightly darker shade of ink and another one of those ray stencils. So this ink was Zest. It's a bit brighter than Lemonade, and I'm not going to let this go as far down into the card, but I'm also going to keep that stencil in place. I haven't moved it yet, though I did wipe off some of the excess ink. And now I'm going to apply this Stencils glitter gel over top of that ink blending. So what this is going to do is add that yellow sparkle to those darker sun rays, and it's going to make them look super pretty. So now I'm going to peel off that stencil to show you how we've got this really cool sun coming down from the top left of the card. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to pop up the snake plant along that bottom right corner, and that's where it's going to overlap with some of that dark blue ink, so that way it has some color behind it, gives it some contrast. And that dimensional foam tape is going to allow it to sit off of that card panel nicely. So this panel is going to get put onto an A2 card. I made this one from some buttercream cardstock from Rainbow Splash. It's a soft, creamy color, and I thought it would look really pretty behind that arch. This is also popped up with foam tape, and because my snake plant was a little bit longer, I did cut off the top just so that way it was nice and flush with the top of the card. Gina K's fuse system also works really great for foiling toner printed products. So from the Simon Says Stamp Moments in Time release that just came out, there is this really great set of easy strips. This is the I See You easy strip collection, and this one's the reverse. These work with the Simon Says Stamp easy strip die. It's a fantastic die that cuts out all of your sentiments all at once, and I'll show it to you here as I go to foil this. But this is printed with toner ink, and I'm cutting a piece of copper foil down to be a little bit larger than the sentiment, placing this with the pretty side up on top of my greeting and then inside of my carrier sheet so I can transfer the foil onto that toner printed sheet. I have the machine on a heat setting of 3, and that's going to allow me to foil this greeting. So this is the Easy Strip die, and as you can see, it works perfectly with these Easy Strip sentiments. There's lots of different Simon Says Stamp Easy Strip sets in their collection, and this one is the newest. I love that the die cuts all of these greetings out all at once. It's super handy. So I have my greeting foiled. I'm just going to let that cool a second before I pull off the foil and reveal that beautiful design. I do recommend cutting your sentiments before foiling just to get a really clean foil. And then that way you don't have to worry about any chipping on the edges of your foil. So my greeting looks fantastic. I'm going to pop this up on top of my snake plant at a slight angle. I love putting sentiments onto my cards lately on an angle. It just adds some movement and some interest. And for a bold design like this, it really worked out well. I tried to line up the sentiment to kind of follow the same angle as the stripes on that middle leaf of my snake plant. And then I'm also going to embellish my card with a few sequins. This is the new Electric Lime sequin mix from Simon Says Stamp's Moments in Time release, and it looks fantastic paired with the colors of this card. All of that beautiful foil looks so good. I love how it catches the light. And of course, when you have something really fun like this snake plant with a little bit of foil on top, it just takes the design up a notch. Instead of using ink for all of the layers, I love that there's a touch of foil for something unexpected. And then one more unexpected touch was adding that fun bit of sparkle in the background for the sun rays. Again, it's something simple. You could have just used ink, but taking it up a notch with the sparkle paste really elevated that whole look. So altogether, this card is one amazing design. I really love it. It is fun and playful and a great card to give to anybody for almost any occasion, really. I mean, you gotta tell everybody you love that they're amazing, because they are. All right, friends, well, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you are curious about any of the new Simon Says Stamp Moments in Time release products that I used today, you can find them below in the video description along with all the other supplies that I used. So be sure to check that out. Also, I have still pictures of the project over on my blog so you can see it in more detail. Thanks so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed and got some ideas for how you could utilize some of these techniques on your next stenciling projects. I will be back very soon with more to share, but until next time, I hope you all have a fabulous day.